Good morning. I'm talking some more about the Dhammapada. And the last section I talked about was pleasure, and it was really about our greed. And this section is about hatred. So, as we know, the three great poisons that drive us are greed, hatred, and delusion. So, verse 222, he who controls himself is the real driver, others merely hold the reins. He who controls himself is the real driver. Others merely hold the reins. So this word control actually comes up a lot in the Dhammapada and in other Buddhist texts about controlling ourselves. And I know that in a way that's not going to be a very um, popular word, or even what it conveys is not very popular today. Um, we prefer to think of everything unfolding organically and so on. And the word control is very much associated with the developmental model of Buddhism. That actually there is a path to follow, and there are things that we do need to do in a way of controlling our mind, controlling our body, speech, and mind. So why is it that I feel quite okay about this word control and even understand perhaps something about it? So as some of you know, I went to a special school when I was young, and I was there from the age of 5 to the age of 16, and it wasn't a pleasant experience being there. But one of the things that I am grateful for is that it was extremely disciplined. And although that was tough at the time, and there were certainly negative things about it, what it taught me, I suppose, is self-discipline. It was run really a bit like a prison, you could say. There was inspection, there were sanctions in all sorts of ways, and we were forced to be outside at the weekend. You couldn't choose whether you wore a coat or a cardigan if you were cold. There were rules that just about governed everything. And it was tough. It was tough. But actually, I did learn a lot of the benefits of discipline. And what it meant was I never felt like afterwards that kind of life just dragged me along. I felt purposeful. I also felt very grateful to be away from there. But actually, if we don't have any control over ourselves, we can feel at the mercy particularly of our habits. And I still feel that. I feel that more now. I've become less disciplined as I've got older. I've kind of loosened up, and that loosening up has definitely been a good thing for me. But for most people, I can see that in a way they need the opposite. They need perhaps to bring more purpose, more intention into their lives as a way to not just be dragged along by habits. I'm not holding myself up as being this great practitioner who's in control of her mind. Not at all. But I definitely, I suppose I've wanted to live without regrets, and I've wanted to, like we all do, make our lives purposeful and mean something. I don't want to get to the end of my life and have all sorts of regrets about what I didn't do. So what does this mean about controlling ourselves? Well, it is about a deep level of honesty about our dark sides, about our habits, particularly I think about the harm that we cause ourselves and the world. A little example just comes to mind. So some time ago, I was listening to the radio, and it was a program about recycling. And some people were ringing in and saying, I'm not going to be told what to do. Why should I do? Why should I recycle? It's Big Brother telling me what to do, and I was very struck by the selfishness of some people just not wanting to think about the world, about other people, about where all our trash goes to. We went to the dump yesterday because we're moving and recycling loads of cardboard and things. And I sat in the car while Bodhi Vajra was getting stuff out of the car, and I was a bit horrified really to see all this waste, and that dump. There's queues of cars all the time. Fortunately, we went early and there wasn't a big queue, but they queue up and it's all day, every day, and all this stuff has got to go somewhere, and yet we're being encouraged to buy new things all the time. So what's happening to the world? And I need to look at what I contribute to that as well. But I felt glad that, all right, I've lived here 18 years, I've had the same fridge, and we only a little while ago got a new washing machine because it broke down. But to just get things new for the sake of it, it's a bit horrifying, really. So the real driver is he who controls himself. Now, I think we often imagine that we then feel that other people are controlling us. If we think in terms of control, but what would it mean to control ourselves? What would it mean to be that aware that we want our lives to be purposeful all the time? Now, that doesn't mean doing things all the time. I always loved the fact that Sangharakshita talked about what was it now? It was around the value of uselessness. That we haven't got to feel that we need to be useful all the time. But awareness, yes, we do. We need to be aware all the time of what's going on in our mind and making choices. It's about making conscious choices. Another verse: let a man overcome hatred by kindness, evil by goodness, greed by generosity, and lies by telling the truth. I know this is simple. It is simple. It's like, so what? It's not, doesn't sound terribly profound on the surface, but actually it is. Some of the time we've just got to look to do the opposite. For me, it's like I've got to know when to keep my mouth shut rather than upset somebody. To know when to reflect on what's going on in my mind rather than just reacting. Taking a more creative response rather than just blurting things out, rather than just acting sort of in an instinctive way without reflection. Yeah, so that's probably enough. I'm going to save a couple of these verses from the section for tomorrow, because if I get started talking on them now, the time will get on. So, yes, just to end by saying, sometimes we talk about hate types and greed types. It's a bit simplistic, really, a bit black and white, because obviously we've all got those things going on in us. But it is worth knowing, whether we tend to be greedy and not put much effort into things, or whether we're a bit too sharp. This is really important with regard to meditation, isn't it? Knowing whether we need to put in more effort, or if we're very disciplined, we might need to put in a little bit less effort. We might need to just learn to relax a bit more. Anyway, that's my ramble for today, and I'll see you soon. Bye.